Welcome to On the Pen Live on this Wednesday, December 3rd. Thank you for bearing with me here. If you've been waiting in the comment section over on YouTube or Twitter, you know that we have just completed an interview with an NPR affiliate over in Cincinnati. And so I want to thank you all for bearing with me as that came up on my schedule today. I knew that y'all would be patient and wait. So thank you. I always relish an opportunity to share about these medications outside of the bubble. So I'll never turn down an opportunity to get outside of the bubble of social media and talk about the positive benefits of GLP-1s, to talk about accessibility, to talk about the things that matter the most. So I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you for being the best part of what we do here at On the Pen. Sue the Dude wants to know, was that WKRP in Cincinnati? I believe it was WVXU. 97.1 WVXU in Cincinnati, but it is possible it went to other affiliates. I'm not 100% certain on that. This is the second interview that I've done with them. Welcome, and thank you for being here. If you're just new here, this is On the Pen. We cover obesity medicine news from the patient perspective, because we believe that you should be empowered with the information that flows out about these medications to have more competent and confident conversations with your doctor. So if you'd hit the subscribe button, that would do my heart good. And I just really appreciate y'all hanging out with me here today. So I want to just go over what we're doing here. We talked about how the live stream that we had been doing in terms of the Thursday night deal. I want to be live with y'all. I don't want to record something and play it. I just want to be live. And so now that we're full time here, I'm super excited to be able to open up this platform to live streams on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We're going to do these at 12 Eastern. I'm getting a lot of feedback in the comments about not understanding the WKRP reference. I'm going to guess Frasier. That would be my guess. I may be too young for WKRP, but Frasier was like Seattle, wasn't it? So I'm trying to think of what there was. Cincinnati. You're gonna have to, y'all. A lot of my audience has me by like 15 to 20 years, and so old Dr. Johnny Fever. Okay, I gotta say that's like the first time that I've even ever heard that phrase. So I don't know. Am I showing my age, or are you all showing your age? But I am 40 years old this year. 40 years old. I've got the hairline of about a 65-year-old and the heart of about a 72-year-old. But we're surviving. We're surviving. So thank you all for being here, and thank you for hanging out. So I want to get into a little bit about why we're doing this. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I figure every other day if we can go live here around 11 o'clock. A lot of you over on the East Coast, it's your lunch hour. And so I know a lot of you are working. Maybe some of you are retired based upon the jokes that you have in the chat. I'm going to guess you're right around retirement age, and your references to old. What was this, an old radio show? I'm still lost. Wood Cookie says, damn, Dave, my socks are 40. Yeah, I love it. Everybody's putting their age in the chat. So and we've got everywhere from, so who's our oldest one in the chat? I'm curious. And am I the youngest? The positive sort of, I guess, spin on being completely metabolically messed up at 40 is that you get the chance to learn from the sage wisdom of the older folks, the elders in the room. And so y'all have educated me on a lot of things over the years. And today we get educated on WKRP, which, as Jay Hawking says, for anyone else who is my age, was a TV show called WKRP in Cincinnati, and it had Lonnie Anderson and Howard Hessman. Don't know who either of those people are. I feel like maybe Lonnie Anderson rings a bell, but We digress. This is exactly what I want this show to be every single day. It's just so good to be, Ruben says, old bastards. It is so good to be with you all. What are we going to do here on these live streams? What are we going to do? Well, I just want to interact with you all. I feel like one of the things that I miss the most about going live on a routine basis is missing the community and missing this interaction with you all. Of course, we have the news. We cover the news from a weekly perspective every Tuesday on the podcast. And so I figure every day there's something to talk about in the world of GLP, but there's always something to talk about in terms of our own journeys, our own health missions that we're on as individuals. And so we're just going to come on and we're going to do it for an hour, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So if you are new here, and even if you're an OG and you have not hit the bell for notifications or the subscribe button, the first thing you need to do is hit subscribe. If you're on Twitter and you're listening or watching, please hit the follow button. That's your number one job. But the bell down below is going to be an excellent notification tool. It's not a perfect notification tool, but it is a tool that should help you be aware when we go live on this channel. But you should be able to take it to the bank every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern. We'll be doing this all live. So it's good to have you all here. Brina, I see you. Sabrina, our friend Sabrina's in the house. Kelly, so good to have you here. And it feels good to know that I am the youngest person in the room. Probably Sabrina is younger than me now, though. Now that Sabrina's in here. But you all have made me feel like a young man today, which is hard to do when you have a crown of hair like I do, or lack thereof, and a waist circumference like mine. But you all have done the impossible, and you've made me feel young. Am I glowing? Am I glowing? Because I feel like pumped up. from this. So yeah, it's so great to be here with y'all. So we just did an interview with Cincinnati NPR radio, and a couple of the topics that we covered. I'm sorry, I'm moving a lot. I like when I get animated, I move around a lot. I hope that keeps the volume okay for you, and I hope that it doesn't drive you nuts here. Sabrina, how am I possibly younger than you? I would not have guessed that. But we talked about a couple things. We talked about the fact that the WHO, and this is kind of the lead in, was that the WHO for the first time actually issued global guidelines on the use of GLP-1 medications for obesity. It's like, 5 years late to the party, maybe even longer. I mean, GLP-1s have been around for 20 years. We've known the science. We've seen what these can do, and they've been working on them from the pharmaceutical industry to make them stronger, more potent. But we've had exenatide, for crying out loud, for 20 years. We've had Saxenda since 2011. Come on. This is a frustrating thing. Apparently, we had to get to the point where 3.7 million deaths in 2024 globally from the disease of obesity was enough to get the attention of the WHO. But I digress. It's projected. Now, this is a crazy number. The deaths tied to obesity, 3.7 million in 2024, projected to double by 2030. Projected to double by 2030. And that is even with the first in my lifetime declines that we're actually seeing in the obesity rate. Now, part of the problem, and we talked about this a little bit on this interview, the part of the problem with the disease of obesity declining in these numbers that they look at is the way that obesity itself is defined by the BMI, which the BMI definitely leaves something to be desired. So there's a really cool news story. We covered it briefly on the podcast yesterday. If you didn't download the podcast, please take a moment to go to otplinks.com and just download the podcast from yesterday. It's very good. But essentially what we had was the Lancet Commission came out earlier this year with new guidelines on how to define obesity because they recognized that the BMI was fallible for sure, right? When you're just taking somebody's height and their weight and coming up with an equation, you have no idea what the body composition is of somebody and who is just really muscular versus who has a lot of visceral fat. There's just no way to know. And so essentially the Lancet Commission came up with some other things to look at in terms of looking at people's visceral fat, the waist circumference to hip ratio, these types of things. And this study that was done by Harvard Medical School was actually pretty fascinating, because if we go by if we go by the old BMI, about 42% of Americans qualify as obese under the BMI. But if you actually use the new criteria, that number goes up to like 70+% of Americans. And so one of the things we talk about all the time here and On the Pen is the fact that if you are living and breathing in the United States, especially with expanded accessibility, it is hard to deny all of the science that is coming out about these medications that show that most people would likely benefit from at least having the conversation about being on these medications with your doctor. Because we know with tirzepatide alone, that's Mounjaro and Zepbound, we know that 90% of pre-diabetics who took this over a 4-year period did not develop type 2 diabetes. It is a prophylaxis against type 2 diabetes. Right? You don't want type 2 diabetes. I live with type 2 diabetes. It is incredibly difficult to manage, not only from a blood sugar standpoint, but from an energy level. It sucks the life out of you. It's very difficult to get good energy levels when you have type 2 diabetes. It's very, it controls, what you eat, when you eat. All of these things play into something that you have to manage. And then ultimately for many people, it means going on insulin because their pancreases wear out and almost become like a type 1 diabetic. And so you want to avoid that, right? And we know these medications do that. We know that they can reverse obstructive sleep, mild to moderate obstructive sleep apnea. We know based upon the clinical trials that we're seeing that these eviscerate liver fat, that they treat MASH, that they can actually reverse the course and the trajectory of liver disease, which is I can scarcely think of a worse way to go than to go the route of losing your life to a liver disease. I mean, it is a nasty, nasty way to go. And we see that these medications are helping that. So we're all of these metabolic issues, these cardiometabolic issues. We see the 20% reduction in MACE events with semaglutide. That's irrespective of weight loss. That's irrespective of the dose that you are on. We see a reduction in all-cause mortality in the select trials. It's just a cascade of evidence that is extremely hard to deny. And when we're talking about 7 out of 10 people meeting this new criteria potentially based upon this study out of Harvard, coupled with the changes looking at the way that we define obesity from the Lancet Commission earlier this year, it is hard to deny that most people would not benefit from at least having the conversation. So have the conversation. And if you're going to a doctor and your doctor doesn't know about these medications, or your doctor is ill-informed about these medications, go to somebody who is. Look for a board-certified obesity medicine specialist. And if you want to know, like, how do I even find that? The Obesity Action Coalition has a great resource. I'll link that in my link tree. I'm going to make a note to myself, note to self, put the OAC in the link tree. So we're going to do that. There's a lot of great resources in the link tree in terms of how to get access to these medications, how to get the savings cards. We're going to have news on the savings cards coming. I've got a line into Lilly. They're responding to me. I think we'll see it in the next couple of days. But go to otplinks.com where you can find all sorts of information and resources about that. You can also, we have this live that we're doing every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern. We've got our podcast up there. We've got our mailing list. We've got all of the discounts that our sponsors offer. Shout out to Shed. If you are looking to get on a GLP-1 medication for the treatment of chronic obesity, look no further than Shed. They're the reason that we can do this full time, that we're live on a Wednesday afternoon, because Shed allows us to do it, and our other sponsors as well. So give Shed some love. You can use code OTP25 to save 25% as well. I want to stop and take a breath and say thank you to Sabrina for a $9.99 super chat. Thank you, my friend. It's so good to be back with you. It does my heart good. I want to say hello to my friend Allie at Fit Flavor Fun, who is in the house. New statistic, 10 out of 10 recommend On the Pen. I appreciate that. I can say Allie at Fit Flavor Fun is one of one. If you're not following her, it seems like you are. She's probably pretty much caught up to me in subscribers over here on YouTube. She's one of one. Please make sure that you give Allie a follow. Somebody just asked me in a live stream the other day on TikTok, I believe it was. They said, like, who's your favorite YouTube follower? And I was like, it's got to be Allie. It's got to be Allie. Who's my favorite person to talk to on the phone? It's probably Allie. Just ask Allie. We can go on the phone for quite a while. So give Allie a follow. So good to see you. Sue the Dude, as always, good to have you in here, my friend. And Spoonie Megumi is in here. Spoonie, how are you feeling? How you living these days? It's good to see you here, and it's good to have you here in the live stream today. Again, we're doing this every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're going to do it 11 a.m. Central, 12 p.m. Eastern. We're going to go till noon Central or 1 o'clock Eastern. Many of you are in the Eastern time zone. I must have missed this earlier, but I see that our friend Dewey's in the house, and he gave a $10 super chat as well. So thank you for that, buddy. I appreciate that. Very kind of you. The super chats are flying. So thank you. If there's any topic that you all want to talk about today, I am more than willing to go to whatever topic you would like to talk to me about today. This is your gig. Sometimes I'm going to be doing some interviews that will play during this time to give. Not every Monday, Wednesday, Friday will I be available at that time slot. It just stands to reason. But I think that at the end of the day, we'll be here live about 90% of the time. But this is your live. This is our community live. This is what I'm here for. And I have missed being able to do these because this is definitely the part of my job that gives me energy, that gives me life to be able to interact with you all today. Spoonie says the horrors persist, but so do I. I love that. I am good. It's just good to have you here. So thank you for being here, Spoon. We love you. Let's see. Pamela wants to talk about the savings card. So the savings card is gonna exist. I mean, I would almost bet whatever I have two of on me that I don't need to live, I would bet one of those. Y'all can choose, dealer's choice. If I have two of them, you can have one of them if there's not a savings card. So I fully expect that there will be a savings card launched in the next couple of days. Now, the reason I say that is because it would be very, very non-conventional for a drug company to not have a savings card on medications that are as new as Mounjaro Zepbound. That said, we're in a very non-conventional time. The direct cash pay price is a very non-conventional thing. All of this is brand new. So we're treading water at a time where we're getting these announcements from most favored nations. We're getting reduction in cash pay price. It is feasible that there couldn't be a card. So I would put that at like a 5% chance that there's no savings card at all. Very low percentage. But the chance of the savings card changing meaningfully, I think, is about 95%. Because the insurance channel is where they're, they're defending and protecting their margins right now. So I got to say, I think that I think there will be a savings card. Again, I've got a line out to Eli Lilly. We should hear within the next couple of days something. I would imagine, I don't know if they're going to tell me before they tell the world, but I do have a message back saying essentially, we're on it. I'll get back to you. So we'll see. We'll see about that. Debbie with the $19.99 super chat. Debbie, I'm so grateful for your persistence in supporting literally everything I do. It's just like every post that I put out on any platform at any time, Debbie is there. So Debbie, you are a very special part of this community. As soon as Ann gets back into the office tomorrow, I think, I've missed her this week. Her company is always good to have around, but B, she keeps me organized. So I've been very unorganized. There's a couple things I need to get out in the mail this week. But I really appreciate you and your support. Spoonie gifted 5 memberships. Really thank you for that, Spoonie. God bless you. So good to be doing this again with you all live. We got a question from Allie over at Fit Flavor Fun. When are the projected higher doses of TERS and SEMA coming out? It's a great question. So let's talk first about the higher doses of semaglutide in the form of high dose Wegovy, which they're actually calling Wegovy Plus. So Wegovy Plus, 7.2 milligrams. So I got a little bit of news on that. I'm going to share. I'm glad that you asked. So one of the interesting things about semaglutide 7.2 Wegovy Plus is, if you look overseas where they, I believe they have launched 7.2 milligrams already, there is no titration from 2.4 to 7.2. So you're doing that 3x jump from 2.4 to 7.2. There's no incremental doses. But this was actually something that the Novo Nordisk applied for a priority review voucher, a quick priority review voucher from the FDA on and received as part of the most favored nations negotiation. So this is with the FDA. They actually applied for this, I think, officially, like last week it was in the news. We knew that they were doing it for the last 2 weeks because they announced it and we talked about it here. But it did make the rounds on the news again because they officially filed it. Now, 2 months, around 2 months is about how long they say that that's going to take. Given that it's just another dose of a drug that's already approved, I think we could see the approval within a month. If we do see that, we could see it on the market by early spring. Early spring for 7.2 milligrams of Wegovy. Do I recommend anybody switching or talking to your doctor about switching to Wegovy over Zepbound or Mounjaro? Just given my own experience, no, I wouldn't. But Wegovy Plus should be here by spring, that's 7.2 milligrams. And don't expect that there's going to be incremental doses from 2.4 to 7.2. From everything that I've heard, it's going to be a jump straight from 2.4 to 7.2. Isn't that crazy? I know that's wild because some people can't even fathom taking the 2.4 milligram dose of semaglutide. It's just a harsher drug in terms of the way that people report their side effects within this community. And so jumping from 7.2 seems like it's enough to knock a horse on its behind, but we'll have to see how people handle that. Now, when it comes to tirzepatide, I know that some of you are keep on the up and up with this a little bit more than I do, but as we announced this like maybe a year or 2 years ago at this point, that there was going to be a high dose trial for 2 investigational doses of Mounjaro. Now, this is specifically for Mounjaro. It's the indication of type 2 diabetes. So there is to this date, and I haven't checked in a while, but to date, there are no high dose studies being done for Zepbound. So this is for the Mounjaro indication. What we've heard from those who are facilitating this trial is that those doses are 20 and 25 milligrams respectively. So we're not even talking about like a major increase, like a 3x dose of Wegovy from 2.4 to 7.2. If we were to do that at 15, we'd be talking about what, 45 milligrams of Mounjaro? That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about 20 to 25 milligrams. And that trial isn't set to the end until the end of 2026. So we still got a full year until that trial ends. And so really, we're going to get that at the same time we get retatrutide. We're going to get it at the same time because the retatrutide trial ends at the end of 2026. And so those are both going to finish trials at the same time. And so we're really going to get retatrutide and high-dose Mounjaro around the same time. And funny story, we're actually going to get retatrutide on the market sooner for the obesity indication than we will for the type 2 diabetes indication. So that may be why they're not even messing with the higher doses of tirzepatide in terms of Zepbound, because you'll have retatrutide for the more advanced metabolic disease. That doesn't mean they won't do it at some point, but presuming that retatrutide gets approved, it will be for those more advanced cases of metabolic disease and obesity. And so we'll see that. We'll see how that all plays out. So hope that answers your question, Allie. I think it's a great question. We're here for you right now. Listen, I was a little late getting on. I want to try to do these streams for about an hour. We did an interview with Cincinnati NPR, and so that went out to some affiliates around the Cincinnati area, which caused us to be a little bit late getting on today. But if you're new here, welcome. My name is Dave Knapp. I'm the man on the Mounjaro. I run On the Pen. On the Pen is an obesity platform. We share news about obesity medicine that empowers you to have more competent and confident conversations with your doctor. And we do that because we firmly believe that if you have the power of information and you're armed with that information when you go into your doctor, oftentimes you may know more than your doctor about this stuff. And if it does, it might be time to look for an obesity specialist. But if not, you can help to advocate for yourself when you have knowledge. And listen, all of the news that flows out about these medications and obesity medicine in general, it's either intended for the doctor community or it's intended for the investor community. So what we do is we just take that news, and we've been doing this for 3 years now. We're the first to do it because we saw the need for somebody to take that all and just translate it into normal people speak. And so that's what we do here at On the Pen. So if you enjoy what we're doing here and you could get down with what we're doing here, my kind and respectful ask is that you would just simply hit the subscribe button. We have a hard time. So on each platform, and I know you guys get sick of me saying it as much as I get sick of talking about it and having it happen to me, but we cannot move on any of these social media platforms. We're on blacklists, I think, with some of our content with some of these platforms. YouTube does not push our content out to new people anymore. It doesn't matter how well the video performs. We just do not get pushed out to new people. And so my ask of you, if you're watching over here on YouTube, is to hit the thumbs up button, hit the bell for notifications, and hit subscribe. And that all should help a little bit to push the content out. And then wherever you're watching, just hit the subscribe button, because that helps with our sponsorships. Like, we're doing this full time now. And so the followship, the interaction, all of that stuff helps with sponsors. So every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we're doing this at 11 p.m. Central Time, 12 Eastern. And then, of course, we have new podcast episodes that drop every Tuesday on The Pin, the Weekly Dose, which is in the top 1% of global podcasts. But more importantly, it's often in the top 20 of all U.S. medical podcasts. That's right up there with Andrew Huberman and Peter Attia and some of the big ones. So it's not like we're getting millions of downloads but we're making waves because we're getting up into that top 20. And I think we'll be there someday. I really do think that we'll be there someday. And the best way that you can help us get there is to leave the podcast a 5-star rating and review. All of the things, calls to action, can be done through otplinks.com. So yeah, other questions, I'd love to take those from you. We'll be on for another, 20 minutes. It just depends on how this goes. You're in the driver's seat here because this is a community-led live stream every Monday, Wednesday, Friday here on YouTube. So appreciate it. Sue the Dude says, I can't imagine doing an impromptu NPR interview and then switching in less than 5 minutes to a live on YouTube and TikTok. So bravo. Thank you. I do wake up thinking about this stuff. So anytime I get the chance, and I was kind of saying this early on when we started the live stream, any time I get a chance to share this stuff outside the bubble, I greatly appreciate it. Listen, we got about 239 people watching across the platforms right now. You can see here that we follow with the other camera here. Hi. We follow our TikTok account. That ticker says how many follows we have. We get one more follower on TikTok while we're live here. We're going to hit 58,000. So of the 240 people that are watching, why don't you go to TikTok and follow at onthepen.official, onthepen.official, and that'll take us to the 58,000. And you'll make that little ticker go up. So that's why we're watching that, by the way. I got another question from Debbie. Debbie says, do you have an open dialogue with Revita? I think you mean Fractal Health, which does Revita. We'd like to know if the food noise and inflammation stay away with their procedure. This is a very common question that I've gotten since I started talking to Fractal Health. I do have an open line to Fractal Health. In fact, I believe the last time that I had Harith Rajagopalan, the CEO of Fractal Health, on the podcast, which was maybe, I don't know, it was a few months ago, maybe 6 months ago. We've had him twice. So you can go back and find those videos within our catalog of content on YouTube. But Harith, and I believe, I could be speaking out of pocket, but I believe I asked him this question because I got it so many times after the first interview, was whether or not they would be looking at the idea of food noise. Now, a couple things I want to say here. There are ways to measure it now. Roe, in partnership with David Allison and the University of Indiana, somebody just followed. So we did hit that 58,000. Thank you for the follow over on TikTok. There are ways to measure it now. So I believe that they are incorporating that into some of their clinical trials to measure what these procedures do to food noise. Now, I think the other question that they have, Debbie, is that people have, in addition to what does it do to food noise, is as you've mentioned, inflammation. And I'm not sure that we're going to see something like that. Thank you for the follow over on TikTok with 5801. I'm not sure we're going to see that with the Revita program. So the Revita program, they've got two programs going in tandem with each other, Debbie. They've got the Revita program, which is essentially, they're both endoscopic outpatient procedures that take about 45 minutes. The Revita program goes down in, and it goes to your duodenum. That's the first part of your gut after your stomach. And it does a mucosal lining resurfacing by just using a little bit of hot water. It's not a device that they implant or anything. It's just hot water that allows that duodenum over the course of the next couple of days to resurface, and you build new cells, right? And so as you're building those new cells, the cells become more receptive and sensitive to the nutrients that you eat, because that's the job of the duodenum. And in response to that sensing, your body releases your endogenous GLP-1 and GIP more efficiently. That's the hypothesis here. And that seems to be what they're seeing in clinical trials. And ultimately, what they showed this week is that it's helping people to get to their goal weight, stay at their goal weight on a GLP-1, and then they go off the GLP-1, get this procedure, and they maintain their progress. So that's what the Revita program is doing. I don't think that it's probably going to be a huge reduction in food noise and inflammation because it's not going to be a super meaningful increase in those incretin hormones. The thing about these incretins is that they're long acting. These because they're long acting, meaning they last, the half life in your body is like 5 days with tirzepatide. I believe it's 7 days with semaglutide. It lasts so long, it has the ability to penetrate areas of your body for a longer period of time than your endogenous stuff ever will because it's destroyed within your body within a couple of minutes. Now, that said, they are working on 2 other programs called the Rejuva program. In the Rejuva program, they've got 2 going at once, Rejuva 1 and Rejuva 2. Rejuva 1 they're both the same procedure essentially in terms of how they work and what they're doing in your body. But one basically programs your body to make more GLP-1 when you eat, and the other one programs your body to make more GLP and GIP when you eat. So you basically have your body's own Ozempic factory and your body's own Mounjaro factory, and it just basically programs your body to dial it up. And so when you eat, you produce more of these hormones. Now, those would be looked at as more of standalone therapies that could potentially replace these medications. And in those, you may see more of that reduction in food noise and more of that reduction in inflammation. But I'm sort of skeptical as to whether you'll see the inflammation reduction specifically just because of how long these act in your body versus how long the endogenous stuff acts in your body. But all stuff that I'm sure that they're looking at and they're measuring, because at the end of the day, their number one job is to not only develop something that could meaningfully change people's lives, but then to make it such that it makes sense for insurance companies to cover the procedure. And so that's all stuff that they're, I'm sure looking at very closely. And of course, the other people that are looking at this very closely are Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk, right? Because I can't imagine they want this thing to be spectacular, right? So we'll have to see. Thank you all for being here. Thanks for hanging out with me. Been live now for about 30 minutes. It's a good time to take a break and tell you that I'm super thankful for our sponsors over at Shape'a. Shape'a is a company that I have been using now since April. They have a numberless scale. And if you're like, Dave, why would you use a numberless scale? And I'd simply tell you this, because I'm messed up in the head. That's why. I'm just a basket case when it comes to stepping on the numbered scale, because even though on an intellectual level, I can step on the scale and have it read up 5 pounds and know that I didn't gain 5 pounds from yesterday, still messes with me. Doesn't matter. And then I don't step back on that thing for a day, a week, a month. A month becomes 3 months, and all of a sudden, I haven't paid any attention to my health for the last 3 months. The Shape'a scale, because it's a numberless scale and you're trying to stay in color ranges, it zooms out and looks at 10 days worth of data. So you're getting a trend of what your weight is doing, not the day-to-day fluctuations. And because it does that, it keeps me engaged with the scale. Even when I'm not doing well, it keeps me engaged with the scale. Right now, I'm in the gray zone. That actually means that I've been gaining lately. But I know that within a matter, just mark my words, stay here. I'm going to guess by Friday, we'll be back into the green zone. I'm working so hard. And thankfully, the Shape'a scale keeps me engaged. And so I'm engaged with my health because I'm engaged with the Shape'a scale, and it's magical. So if you think that you might be a little screwed up when it comes to the numbered scale too, and you might benefit from this, check them out, home.myshape'a.com/OTP. Use the code OTP30, and you're going to save 30% on the Shape'a scale. And we certainly thank our friends at Shape'a for helping, again, to be a sponsor that allows us to do this during the week. I'm doing this on a Wednesday at 12 o'clock. You know what I used to be doing at 12 o'clock on a Wednesday? Probably hitting up a drive-thru and eating my feelings because I hated my job. That's probably what I was doing. And I'm so grateful because you all have given me a platform to be able to do this all day, every day. And I'm so thankful because what a dream to have this as a job. What a dream. The thing that I love the most, learning about how to be healthy, learning about how to help other people be healthier, learning about how to share information is my job. And you all have given that to me. And so I'm eternally grateful to each and every one of you. I'm eternally grateful to our sponsors who said, not only do we believe in what you're doing, but we believe in it so much that we want to help you do it full time. So thank you to Shape'a. Thank you to Shed. Claimable has been a great sponsor as well. So thank you all. Integrated Peptides, everyone. Let's see. Let's check in with a commies here. Ruben says, knowing how fast the price is dropping on weight loss medications, will it still be advantageous for drug companies to keep formulating better, more advanced medications? It's a really good question, and I think an astute question, Ruben. And essentially the bottom line is here, because the prices are dropping and so many people will get access to this medication, will there be a market to develop the next gen of the drugs? I think we're already seeing it, Ruben. And I think that even with the drugs in the pipeline, so many people are going to be positively affected by the next gen of these drugs, whether we're talking about retatrutide, which I think will be the undisputed king of the hill. But we talked yesterday about an oral version of a triple agonist. I can't remember exactly what the name of the company was. I think it was like Ascletis or something like that. And, you know, they have a triple agonist that's like 57 times more bioactive than retatrutide is. How they're doing it, whether it's just marketing hype, I don't know. But, you know, we are seeing that they're still developing these. And I think, you know, for the vast majority of people living with the disease of obesity and type 2 diabetes, tirzepatide is going to be hard to beat. Frankly, it's going to get a lot of people to where they want to be. But for the smaller percentage that have more advanced metabolic disease, I think we're already seeing some of those drugs in the pipeline and in the works. Will we be able to improve upon those? I think will be the big question. And how much will we need to improve upon those versus expanding access and getting things like the Revita procedure, which can potentially give people hope to get to where they want to be from a health perspective and then not have to worry about maintaining that with a shot the rest of their life that they have to pay for. So there's just so much positive things happening that I really don't see that happening. I think access has always been the biggest barrier, and I've never really seen access as something that could really, you know, stifle innovation from where it needs to be. But we'll see. It's an astute point and a great question. Debbie says, we believe in you and appreciate everything you do to help us. I really appreciate your support. Dewey says, I understand on hating a job, worked there for 20 years at a company and going nowhere. That is very frustrating. Sue the Dude said, I think there will always be pressure to improve, but the gold rush frenzy may end soon. It's hard to imagine anybody capitalizing on this like Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly have. I'll say that. I mean, you do see like, I'm really interested to see what happens with Viking Therapeutics. So you can check them out on the stock ticker. It's VKTX. Viking Tide is what we've been talking about. VK2735 is their GLP-1 GIP that they have. And it's been fascinating to kind of watch them because they have a more powerful, they have a version of a GLP GIP like tirzepatide, right? But they have a version that I think when we see some phase 3 data on retatrutide, I think we're actually going to see that Viking Therapeutics VK2735 injectable once weekly rivals that for weight loss. It's such a powerful, like whatever they've done to make that molecule, you know, potentially superior to tirzepatide. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with Viking. And do they get gobbled up by a Novo Nordisk who, you know, was trying their hardest to get Metsera, ended up losing out to Pfizer. Will Lilly have an appetite for it? I don't know. We'll have to see. Brina says it was Ascletis that was the triple agonist pill. Now, Brina, I want to know, how do you say that? How do you pronounce it? I was talking about it on the podcast yesterday. I was like, Ascletis. That's the best I could come up with, but it didn't sound right. Ascletis. Ascletis. I don't know. Who cares? Ask me when they actually have something in clinical trials, and I'll be more interested. But it is interesting to see what they're doing with their oral triple agonist, as we talked about on the podcast yesterday. Ascletis. I like that. Ascletis sounds to me, it reminds me like of AskJeeves.com. Remember when you had AskJeeves.com where you basically asked a internet butler to Google something for you? I think Ascletis would be even better. So you're going to ask, you know, some old boy named Cletus a question, and you're going to get an answer in the form of the way old Cletus would answer you. I think that would be a fantastic website. Sue, I want you to work on that today, if you could. AskCletus.com. Coming soon to a browser near you. Bring on Pfizer. More competition will be great. Yeah, it'd be very interesting to see what happens with Pfizer and the acquisition of Metsera. You know, they were working really hard on a small molecule oral GLP-1 non-peptide danuglipron, which they just couldn't get out of clinical trials because they had all these issues with liver issues, right? And so they acquired Metsera. It'd be interesting to see what happens with them. In terms of Sabrina's asking, has anybody checked out what's happening with Lilly? I don't follow the Lilly stock too much, but I tell you what I've been following pretty closely are Fractal Health. Fractal Health over the last couple of days on this data is up like 30%, which is very exciting as somebody who holds a little bit of their stock. Viking Therapeutics, same deal. I hold a little bit of that too. That's one that I've been following. If they get acquired, that could be a bit interesting. So we'll see. Let's see. What's your take on Lilly, Sabrina? Yeah, let's hear it. What do you have to say? What are your thoughts on it, Sabrina? Let's look at it. I'll pull it up real quick. LLY. Looks like Lilly is sitting at $1,000. It's down about 1.5% today. But they did hit that $1 trillion valuation, which was, we were all kind of anticipating. But it's the first pharmaceutical company, even in the COVID era, you would have thought somebody would have hit the $1 trillion valuation. They did not. Lilly hit the $1 trillion valuation, and that's literally on the backs of tirzepatide. And probably some anticipation of what retatrutide would be. One of the things that I get excited about when I think of Lilly and what they have in the pipeline, obviously retatrutide is it's what everybody's talking about, right? We were talking about it 3 years ago, but what's the thing that we're talking about for Lilly now that other people may be talking about in 3 years, right? And for me, that's brenipatide. Brenipatide, BRENIPATID, brenipatide, is a GIP receptor agonist. I think it's in phase 1 clinical trials. But what gets me excited about this, and we kind of talked about this on the pod yesterday, is, okay, bear with me here. Yes, this past week we got some data on an Alzheimer's trial, the EVOKE trials that Novo Nordisk did with Rybelsus. Rybelsus is just a weak form of oral semaglutide. That's just what it comes down to. And people are like, why would they choose such a weak version of semaglutide to be represented in this by estimation, $700 million trial? Why would they risk doing it with a lesser drug? Why not do Wegovy 2.4 and see what happens? Well, the reason is in the Alzheimer's population, you're not trying to get their weight down. And so since you're not trying to get their weight down, you have to use something that doesn't, target weight loss as much, but maybe gives you some of those vascular benefits, some of the insulin reducing benefits, all of those things, right? That's where I get excited about brenipatide, because although I don't have any idea or clue, and I could be completely wrong about this, it seems like what the goal with brenipatide is to target neurological issues. So they're going to target things like addiction behavior in alcoholism and opioid use disorder. They're going to target it in asthma, which actually, believe it or not, has a neurological component. So the way that I'm deducting this is I'm going, well, if you're going to target those pathways, you're not necessarily wanting to target a weight loss endpoint with those, right? Not everybody who uses opioids is overweight. Not everybody who uses alcohol is overweight. Not everybody who has asthma is overweight. So it's an example of another of these other sort of issues that they're targeting with GLPs, or let's call them nutrient stimulated hormones, that are outside of weight loss. And really that's what it's going to take, I think, coming back to the conversation about the EVOKE trials for Alzheimer's, is they weren't trying to get Alzheimer's patients skinny. They were trying to reduce their Alzheimer's, the progression of their Alzheimer's. And they were going to do that by some of the benefits that you get, but they couldn't afford to, get people down to these super low weights, right? They were trying to manage a neurological issue. So I guess this is a really long, I took the long way to say that the future drugs that I think we have to get excited about are these nutrient-stimulated hormones that work on pathways outside of weight loss that give hope to millions of other people in other communities that are struggling with diseases, whether that's a disease of alcoholism, whether it's things like asthma. I mean, we're talking about psoriatic arthritis, some of these other things that don't necessarily associate with weight. So how do you target those pathways that bring this kind of benefit without also targeting weight at the same time? So I think that's going to be really exciting to see. And so brenipatide is probably the new retatrutide in my mind, just because it sort of represents that I think we're going to be there within a few years of having enough medicines on the market that almost everybody has something that could work for their specific metabolic dysfunction, or some sort of cocktail of a few things that work to address their metabolic dysfunction in a meaningful way. So then what else can be targeted with these medications to help other people? And that's, I think, like, what an exciting thing to be excited about. The fact that we could even have this conversation where the medication options could be so good that we can start talking about other things, right? Other things that affect a lot of people and cause a lot of heartache and human suffering. So K-Kid says that they're ready to create their own YouTube channel, share my success story. Listen, the more sharing, the merrier. As you share your journey, you're going to connect with other people who have similar stories, and you're going to help them. So the best thing you can do by turning that camera on is you're going to help somebody. And so I highly recommend, if you have a story to tell and you have a voice and you are willing to share that voice, do it. Don't waste another day. My whole life has been transformed because I decided to turn a camera on one day and share about a new shot that I was taking. And that was 3 years ago. That was 3 years ago last month. And now we are the most trusted obesity medicine news platform from the patient perspective. I just got off of a interview with NPR before we did this. I was actually late to this because of that. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, what has happened in the last 3 years? But what has happened is that I decided to share, and that message resonated with people. And now I have this wonderful blessing of a community of people that I love and treasure and have given me something very, very special and On the Pen. Do I know when multi-dose pens of Zepbound will be available? So what I do know about that, and that's a great question, Michelle. So that is actually with the FDA for approval right now. They're actually not approved yet. So the first thing we're looking for, which is why you need to hit the like and hit the bell and hit the sub, because the second this is news, I promise you, we will have it first. Before you ever see it in the news, before you ever see it reported anywhere, you're going to see it from On the Pen, especially from our Substack, which you can get at obesity.news. But I digress. Make sure that you subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell for notifications. But the answer to that is it has to get approved by the FDA. Once it's approved by the FDA, I believe that we're going to see this in April, because in April is when the Medicare plans start to open up for access to Zepbound. And once that happens, we do know from Lilly reporting that all of those Medicare patients will be receiving that multi-dose pen. So they're going to have it by April, right? So a lot of stuff has to happen between now and then. The government has to do their part and approve it, but I would expect to see it by the spring. How's that for an answer, Michelle? Thank you for being here. Thank you for being the best part of what we do at On the Pen. Robert says, any positive movement on challenging these patents? I did hear, I can't say there's positive movement depending on how you look at this, but Dr. Reddy's in India, who was trying to go live with a generic semaglutide in January, did lose a patent challenge to Novo Nordisk, and they won't be able to launch till later in the year. That's the last that I've heard on any of the patent challenges. Michael says a starting weight of 293 and current weight is 267. Great job. That was 9 weeks ago. I'd like to thank you for all you do, Dave. I would like to thank you, Mike, for being here, and thank you for sharing, staying on that 5 milligram. The 5 milligram dose, which we know received the biggest decrease in cost, right? It went, if you're doing the cash pay for the vials, you went as of December 1st from paying $4.99 a month to $3.99 a month. So that was the biggest price reduction in the Zepbound pens. And so good for you, Mike. Thanks for sharing. Sue says it's a great crew. Couldn't agree more. Hint, I've just completed a triple agonist clinical trial. Yep, Retta. That's amazing. KK, then you got to be sharing. You got to be sharing. Listen, if you start creating content about your experience with that medication, you will blow up. You will blow up. Do it. Don't waste another day. Sue says, go Mike. I agree. The single dose pens are so wasteful. I totally agree. I know that everyone probably agrees in the chat. Pamela has lost 142 pounds on Mounjaro. That's amazing, Pamela. Congratulations. Yes, we thank you, Dave, for your contribution to the GLP-1 movement. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Couldn't have done it without you. It's nothing without all of you. I think I've been thinking a lot lately about how Release the Vials helped contribute to not only expanded accessibility. Like, to me at the time, Release the Vials was about getting more medication available for people, like alleviating the shortages. But the vials, what they actually did through the way that Lilly launched them is they transformed our healthcare system. I don't think that's an understatement to say that the Lilly vials transformed our healthcare system through Lilly Direct, because it cut the PBMs out. It was basically the pharmaceutical, flipping the bird to the pharmacy benefit managers and saying, if you guys are going to just fleece people and take 40% of the cost of the drug just because you can gatekeep access, double barrel fists, we're going to go direct to patients. And they did that. And then you had Most Favored Nations come along. And now you have like 7 or 8 different pharmaceutical companies doing the same thing. It's transforming our healthcare system. It's going to cause so much change over the next couple of years in our healthcare system. It's going to be absolutely incredible. And so I think about Release the Vials, like really at the time, what it was about was just get more obesity medicine in the hands of the people that need it. And what it became was something that actually has transformed our healthcare system and will continue to transform our healthcare system over the coming months and years. So we'll have to see how it all plays out. It's very fascinating. Been a very fascinating thing to watch and to ruminate on. If you see behind me, there's a Fortune magazine article that was done in the fall of last year, around this time last year. It was like August, September last year. But there's a whole article about Eli Lilly and what they were doing and how they were growing and some of the foresight into what they were doing. And we got mentioned in that article as a patient advocacy group that was pushing for the Release the Vials. And so if you ever wonder why I have a Fortune magazine article on the wall, actually there's a better picture of it right there. If you ever wonder why that's there, it's because literally we are in that issue of Fortune magazine. When I talk about the things that have been afforded to me by way of this community and what you have done for me to help me build this out, it's just unbelievable. This is unbelievable that a guy who was selling portable stoplights for just 4 short years ago, selling portable stoplights for 10 years, that I would be having the opportunity to be in Fortune magazine next to the largest pharmaceutical company ever in the world, because what we were doing was making an impact on what they are doing. Can you even believe that? Like, there have been these moments that have been like WTF moments. Like, how is this even a thing? But I just go back to, it's because you all have believed in the work that we've been doing here at On the Pen, and you all put the trust into me each and every day to do this. And I'm so extremely grateful and so extremely proud of what we're doing. I've given you a peek into some of the things that we're doing for the upcoming year, and it's just amazing what we're working on, and I couldn't believe it. But I told you all this at the beginning. I don't know if anybody remembers this or not. I tend to go back mentally and think about what was I doing a year ago. But at the beginning of 2025, I was saying, I'm not going to think little anymore. I thought little in 2024, and then we did Release the Vials, and I wasn't prepared for how that blew things up. I said, I'm going to go into 25 expectant that big things are going to happen, that we're going to have the chance to shape, the future of accessibility, that more people are going to end the year on these medications than started. More people are going to have access for less. And these are all things that I saw for 2025. When 2026, when we're preparing for 2026, there are some major things that we're working on. And I'm so excited, and I can't even believe that we're here and we're doing what we're doing. But man, what a journey it's been. K-Kid's been here watching. I appreciate that. Thank you, Wannabe Farm Girl. Good to see you. Is there anybody, let's do a quick roll call here before we jump off. I'm just curious where everybody's watching from today and what everybody is doing while they're watching. So if you're watching this after it's live, I want to hear from you too. What are the things, I'm especially curious while we're live here. It's a weird time for some people, right? But I figured it was best. Most of our followers are actually on the East Coast. And so I wanted to hit their lunchtime because I thought if we do this at noon, somebody's eating lunch, they can jump in, have some community, and hopefully have a nice breakup of their workday. What are you doing? And are you digging this new format where we're going to be live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern? Delisa is working from home. Delisa is working from home still. It's like the running joke. I can never get your name right. I can never remember which one it is, even though I know you've told me 100 times. Indigo, California, LA, Atlanta, Georgia, Hilldale, Michigan, and working at the local. Did you mean to say the local radon station, or did you mean to say the local radio station? Is there such thing as a radon station? I don't know. That's a place that I'd want to work. You might want to get that checked out. Illinois, my neighbor, Boise, Idaho, Westchester, New York, northern coast of California. A lot of California people. So we're catching the California people a little bit early. Like what was it? Probably about 9 a.m. when we went live for you all. Cooking 49 board and care residents. Okay. That's a lot of cooking, my friend. South of St. Louis. So Debbie's pretty close too. Clearwater, Florida. Good to be here. Missouri, Pennsylvania. We got a couple people from Missouri today. Homesick. Love your news. Hope you get feeling better, Teresa. Sorry to hear that you're feeling sick today. Working at your local radio station. Awesome. Down in the Dale. You ever want to have On the Pen on? Let's do it. Let's have a little fun. Debbie M. I'm close. That's great. So we got a couple of people down just south of me. So I'm in Iowa. Eastern Iowa to be specific. So I'm probably closest to Sabrina, probably second closest to maybe Debbie or Pamela. South Florida, another St. Louis. Oh, all right. So we got some Midwest, Buffalo, New York. It's so cool that we can have all these people from all these areas. If you're watching on Twitter, where are y'all watching from today? And, kind of my last call before we jump off here in the next couple of minutes is to just ask that you would take a moment. We're really trying to grow our Instagram account. So obviously with the TikTok account going away, we've been banned there. And from what I hear, once your account gets banned, you're sort of on a list and you may be dealing with it perpetually. I don't want to be bugging you all with this if it happens again. I just want to say, please take a moment to follow our Instagram. It's at onthepen.official. And if you would take a moment to just do that, we're trying to grow that account because Instagram has been the least impacted by any of this. And so I'm thankful that that's been the case. So that's where I'm pushing everybody to right now is Instagram. So at onthepen.official over on Instagram. You can get there by clicking otplinks.com, and there's an Instagram button right at the top. There's social media buttons. Just click the Instagram one. If you do, come back and let me know in the comments of this video that you did that you're helping us grow that Instagram account. We put a lot of our short form content up there, but of course we'll always be, YouTube is home base for what we do here at On the Pen. Brina wants to know if there'll be a meetup in 2026. If I can make happen what I'm trying to make happen this month, not only would there be a meetup, but I would be hosting it, and it would be pretty cool. So stay tuned, Sabrina. Stay tuned. In my trailer, Sue says, in my trailer. It's yeah, you get me in trouble. Midwest meetup. You're across the river, Pamela. Nampa, Idaho. A couple from Idaho today. Colorado, Turbo Gal. Awesome. Well, it's been so good to be with you here. We're coming up upon that 1 hour mark. That's what I want to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Spend an hour with you here live at On the Pen. Check out all of our social media platforms. Sign up for our newsletter at obesity.news. It's just been so great to be with you, and I'm excited. It feels so good to connect with the community again, and something that I love doing, and I know that you all love it as well. Fit Flavor Fun Alley says, party at Dave's house. I'm sure my wife and children would love that. So Has to be a putt-putt nearby. Yeah, we can make that happen. So yeah, I appreciate y'all being here. Appreciate y'all being the best part of what we do at On the Pen. I couldn't, wouldn't, and shouldn't do without you. Hit that thumbs up button before we leave. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. I'm sure that most of you have, probably 95% of you have. And don't forget to check out our sponsors at otplinks.com. Give them some love for all the generosity that they put our way to allow us to do this full time. My friends, until the next one, I hope you have a great evening. May the Lord bless you and keep you, cause his face to shine upon you, and be gracious to each and every one of you. You're all very special to me, and I appreciate the work that you all do to keep us going here at On the Pen. Check in the next one, my friends.